Hey everyone, this is Andy from Gizchina, and today we're going to look at the IUNI U3. It's the flagship phone from IUNI, and in China this costs just 1,999 RMB, and that's quite special considering the specifications on the device. Now this is a pre-production version that IUNI gave us before the launch, and as you can see on the rear it's a TD-LTE version, and that basically means it will only work with China Mobile's data network. I've been unable to get this phone to work with European 3G or 4G networks just yet, but according to specifications there is an FDD LTE and WCDMA version available, so hopefully we'll get that to test in the future. In the meantime, let's take a look at this version of the U3. So slide up, open the box, and inside the first thing we get is the phone itself, the white version of the phone. Let's pop that to one side. Also in the packaging we get this small tool which helps us remove the rear panel of the IUNI U3. An IUNI branded USB data cable is also included along with a charger. But that's it, there's nothing else in there, there's no earphones, there's nothing else. But considering the phone costs just 1,999 RMB, that's fine by us, that's okay. Okay, so let's take a look at the phone and let's listen to the specs. We've got a 5.5-inch 2K display on here. This is a sharp display with Corning Gorilla Glass 3, and it has a 2.5D rounded edge to it. If you look at it from the bottom, so I just pop the rear back on properly, you can see that there's a slight taper here to the ends of the glass, and that gives it a really nice smooth feel from the very edge up to the top and then down again to the other side. So it's got a nice tapered glass front on there. It's also got a coating on this screen from Canon, and this coating allows it to get rid of fingerprints quickly. You can see even though I'm touching it, it's not really picking up that many smears and smudges. And it also gives it a really nice smooth feel. So if you're into gaming, this is really nice and smooth for moving around, aiming at zombies and shooting them in the face. So that's a nice little feature. Other details we've got on the front of the phone, we've got a 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera, which is the same sort of tech as HTC are using. Got the receiver there and light and proximity sensors to the left of that. You can see that the bezels, top, bottom and either side of the screen are really narrow. And that gives this 5.5-inch phone a really compact feel, and it's extremely comfy in the hand, despite being 10.3 millimeters thick. In fact, if I just bring in the Meizu MX4, if you've seen our MX4 review, you'll know that the MX4 has a 5.36-inch display, which is smaller than the 5.5-inch display of the IUNI U3. However, if we put them next to each other, you can see that the overall length is pretty much the same. There's only a 1 millimeter difference. And you can actually fit the U3 behind the Meizu MX4, or vice versa. You can fit the IUNI behind the Meizu MX3. They're very similar in size. So that's pretty impressive stuff. I mean, to get that 5.5-inch screen into the size of a phone of a 5.36-inch phone, that's pretty amazing. For another comparison, let's have a look at the OnePlus One. These phones have got the same size 5.5-inch display. You can see already that the OnePlus One is longer than the IUNI, but the width is almost the same too. So, like I say, really impressive stuff to get such a big screen into such a compact and comfortable to hold phone. Alright, let's carry on looking around the device. The chin of the phone has no buttons whatsoever. All the navigation controls are handled by IUNI OS, and there's an on-screen navigation bar which we'll take a look at in a moment. Turning the phone to the right-hand side, we've got this power button and volume rocker, and you can see that there's a small gap there running along the length of the phone. This is the gap between the magnesium chassis of the phone and the plastic rear panel, which does remove. Now, what is interesting is that IUNI have used this magnesium alloy chassis, which should help create a lightweight phone, but it's actually quite a heavy device, a little bit top heavy if anything. Luckily though, it is narrow, so it's easy to keep hold of, and the chances of dropping it should be slim, but be aware of it, it is quite a heavy device. At the top we've got a 3.5mm headphone jack, The left-hand side is devoid of anything, there's nothing on there. And in the base we've got a USB data plug and a microphone. On the rear of the phone we've got an external speaker, which is actually quite nice and loud. We've got the IUNI logo, single LED flash, which is a bit of an odd choice considering a lot of phones now are getting dual LED, dual tone flashes. 13 megapixel camera with a metal surround and a microphone. And this camera is actually set into the phone a little bit, so if you do rest it on a table, it's a bit more protected than, say, the MX4s, which is sitting proud of the rear. Okay, so as already mentioned, it's quite comfortable to hold, even though its thickness. It's got this really nice tapered finish to it, which gives it an almost pillow-like feel. And also mentioned before, you can take off the rear. So to take off the rear, what you can do, you can force this plastic thing in here, feed it round the edges. Let me see if I can get this off. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but luckily you don't need to be taking it off all that often. There we go, unclip it all, and that's it, that's the rear off. Inside we have space for dual SIM cards, which is a really great feature on a flagship phone with a Snapdragon 801 processor. We've got a 4G SIM slot and a regular GSM SIM slot, and both of these are for, this is for a micro SIM and this is for a regular size SIM. Oh, sorry, both of these are for micro SIMs. In the top here you can see there's a small black area that's poking out the top. And a lot of people have asked me, is that space for an SD card? Unfortunately, it is not. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but it's not an SD card. In here, we've got the 3000 mAh LG battery, which is non-replaceable. And it should be pretty good, but we've not been able to really put it through its paces because, like I said before, we don't have data here. So I can't tell you just how good the battery might be. The rear, has a similar baby skin feel to the OnePlus One. You can see there's no NFC, so again, IUNI, like Meizu and like Xiaomi, have decided to get rid of NFC on their flagship device. It's quite a solid panel, and there are optional colors available. There's a green, there's a black, and there are even options with painted caricatures on the rear too. Snap it back into place. There we go, back on. And let's take a look at IUNI OS. Now, IUNI OS is a very basic ROM. It's beautiful, but it's very, very basic. For example, there's no double tap to wake. There are no on-screen gestures. We can't draw a circle to open the camera. We can't swipe up or down to unlock it. So that's a real shame, but it's a feature that could be added in the future. So just as before, in the olden days, you have to hit the power button to get to the lock screen. Now this lock screen will change depending on the day. Today we've got the Eiffel Tower, other days we might have a bicycle next to a wall, and all the images look absolutely stunning on this 2K display. From the lock screen we can swipe to the right and that will open up the camera quickly. Swiping to the left has no option just yet, but again it might be a feature that's added in the future. But swiping up will unlock the screen. And in this case it's gone directly into the camera because that's the last app we had open. We try that again, and then we're into the lock screen. And as you can see, when we unlock the phone, we've got this nice bouncing of the icons, and that's just one of the really lovely animations that IUNI OS has. It is a stunning looking ROM to look at. It has great animations and really nice little touches. For example, you can see that the second hand on this clock icon for your clock app is turning. This is actually a live clock. It's actually working, so that's a nice feature. You can just quickly look here and you can see the time. We've also got some really beautiful backgrounds, transparent backgrounds, and overall the look of the IUNI OS apps is really good. They look really nice, very clean. It's probably some of the best I've seen so far. As you can see, we've got some really nice, very tidy looking applications. There isn't anything in here because, like I said, I've not been able to use the device as a phone. Hopefully we'll get a production version in the future. The IUNI U3 comes with its own IUNI store. This is an app store for Chinese-only applications. And unfortunately, IUNI OS doesn't have Google services as standard. But what we have found by trying to install Play is that there is an IUNI OS Play icon. So if they've designed the icon, it does suggest to us that Google Play support will be added in the future. As it is, you'll either have to download applications from this store or from a third-party source. You can see that all our applications are on here on the screen. There's no app drawer, and we just simply swipe from one page to the other. Basically, if you've used MIUI, ColorOS, or even iOS, you're not going to have any issue using this. It's very, very simple. Got a few more apps here. We've got our data usage here. We can set how much data we want to use in a day, and again we've got this lovely animation and a really clean looking app. Head out of here, we've got an updater too, another nice animation. And switching around the phone, going from one thing to the other, really fast, really quick, no problems. And everything does look really, really great. Swipe up from the bottom and we get our task manager and some toggles for our most used things, for example GPS, Bluetooth, a rear torch, data connection, and also brightness of the screen. To clear apps, we can just flick them off one by one. As far as I can see, locking them is basically to swipe down, but as far as I can see, there's no way to clear all the apps in one go. You've got to clear them one by one, which is a little bit annoying. But again, these are features that can be added, and what IUNI have got is an extremely nice base which is uncluttered and devoid of all junk. There's no junk apps, no rubbish on here that you'd want to get rid of. So the base is there, they just need to add a few features to it. The camera application, this is the 30 megapixel rear camera. This, when we turn the camera on, the phone will autofocus itself. The autofocus is a bit hit and miss, so you might want to tap where you want the focus to be. And once you do that, you get these little options here. The green ring is for focus, and the white ring is for our light source. We can choose where we want our light from. We've also got an option here to brighten or darken the image, and obviously zoom is there too. Nice and fast zoom. Other than that, the only other options we've got are filters. These are live previews for those filters. We've also got sound, HDR, a timer, panorama mode, and night shot. And that's it. There are no other features for the camera. There's no option to change. If we just hit the menu button here, there's nothing else. There's no option to change the size of the images. We can't switch from 13 to 8. There's no option to even change the video recording. We just get this. You just hit the video button and it starts recording. We can't choose 720, 1080, 4K, nothing. It's all really simple stuff. And on one hand, that's great. You can just pick it up and use this phone and not worry about features. But on the other hand, I really wish there were those features. I mean, the camera is okay, but I think you could squeeze a bit more out of it if we had a bit more manual control over things. While we're in the camera application, if you just take a look at the navigation bar, you'll see that the navigation buttons have changed to these little dots. And that's really nice. When you're working on something, maybe a photo or a note, the back button, home button, and the menu button will disappear into these little dots, and they only come back alive again when you hit them. There you go, you can see that they've changed back to their normal icons. Alright, other things we've got in here, notifications in the top. If we had any notifications, we could flick those away, and there's also a button at the bottom that would let us clean all of them. And here is a quick option to get at any applications that will push messages to us. We can go into the settings, got a really nice settings menu, nice and clean. When you go into settings, this is the basic settings. We have got an option to change the boot animation, which is an interesting feature considering there are not many other features to play around with. If you needed more advanced settings, we'd go in here, but again, it's also quite simple. There isn't really much in there to play around with. Okay, so overall what we've got here is really great hardware, a beautiful screen, powerful processor, camera is okay, a really great design and a huge battery, plus a really lovely looking OS. Personally, I hope in the future that IUNI will add more to the OS because this phone is capable of a lot. It's capable of really competing with the OnePlus One, the Oppo Find 7 and the Meizu MX4. But those other phones are feature rich. They've got tons and tons of features. And that's where the IUNI is missing out, for now at least. I am happy that IUNI have done this though. I mean, it means that what we've got is amazing. It's really smooth, it's really well optimized. It all works very, very well. But now they have this base, they really need to add some features. Overall, the IUNI U3, great phone. Unfortunately, I've not been able to fully test it because here in Europe, we can't get the data. I will be going back to China very soon, so I'll be able to test it better there. And we've been promised a production version of the phone too, so when we come back to Europe again, we can check that everything is hunky-dory there. As it is, if you are in China and you're after a flagship phone at a good price and you want something a bit different, I really do highly recommend the IUNI U3. If you're outside of China, I'd wait a little bit, see if that Google Play Store feature can be added, see if a few more features can be added and double check that this data does work outside of China. If so, get it at a good price and I think you won't be looking back. Anyway, so that's the IUNI U3 review. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them on Gizchina. And thanks for your time. Goodbye.